Frank Miller sat straight-backed in his chair, his face a mask of calm. Inside, anger burned like a dying star. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council gleamed with polished stone and moving lights. 200 alien representatives from across the galaxy filled the curved rows of seats. None of them seemed to care about the human colonies that were dying. The Council has reviewed Earth's request for military aid against the Vork's attacks, announced High Counselor Zeth. The tall, blue-skinned alien's voice echoed through the chamber. Once again, we must deny this petition. The evidence provided does not meet our standards for intervention. Frank's right hand tightened into a fist under the table. 13 times. 13 times Earth had asked for help. 13 times they had been told no. On a screen before him, Frank could see live images from the colony on Ta City. Smoke rose from buildings. People ran through streets carrying whatever they could save. The Vork's raiders had struck 3 days ago. By the time this meeting started, 2,000 humans were already dead. Does the Earth representative wish to speak? Asked Zeth, following the expected routine. For 30 years, humanity had played by the rules. They had signed the treaties. They had respected the strange customs of 100 alien races. They had waited their turn to speak. They had changed their words to please sensitive ears. They had bowed and nodded and smiled when they wanted to scream. Frank looked down at his tablet. A message from President Laura Bennett waited for him. If they say no, you know what to do. Frank stood up slowly. The council chamber fell quiet. This was the moment when the human would beg, when he would promise to bring better evidence next time, when he would thank the council for their wisdom and patience. Instead, Frank closed his folder. He tucked his tablet under his arm. Without a word, he turned his back on High Counselor Zeth and walked toward the door. Representative Miller called Zeth, confusion in his voice. The session is not concluded. Frank did not stop. He did not turn. The massive doors swung open before him, then closed behind him with a soft click that seemed to echo through the silent chamber. In the hallway, Frank nodded to his assistant, Sam Wells. Is it time? Sam asked quietly. It's time, Frank confirmed. Send the message to Earth. Just one word. Exodus. As they walked toward their ship, whispers followed them. Council security guards watched nervously. Nothing like this had happened before. No representative had ever simply walked out. On their ship, Frank looked at the final report from Ta City. The colony was lost. The Vorks had taken what they wanted and left nothing but ashes. They think we're weak, Frank said, watching the stars through the viewscreen. They think we'll come crawling back. Sam prepared the ship for departure. What happens now? Now, Frank allowed himself a small smile. Now we show them how wrong they are. 12 light years away, in a secure room deep under the Rocky Mountains, President Laura Bennett received the message. She looked at the military officers and scientists gathered around her. For 5 years, they had prepared for this moment, building in secret, developing technologies they never shared with the Council. It's time, she announced. Activate Operation Exodus. General William Grant nodded grimly. All military units are ready, Madam President. The evacuation ships can launch within 48 hours. Dr. Emma Clark, head of the science team, pulled up a holographic map of the galaxy. The gateway system is prepared. The first phase of construction in the target region is complete. And the farewell gift? Asked the President. Ready for delivery to all vulnerable worlds, confirmed Dr. Clark. The defense systems will work exactly as promised. The President looked around the room. For 30 years, we tried to be good neighbors. We followed their rules. We asked for help when we needed it. Her voice hardened. Now we do things our way. Across Earth, hidden factories began to hum with activity. In orbit, massive ships began to power up. On colonies across 12 star systems, people prepared to leave their homes. Humanity was finished asking for permission. 6 months passed without a single human at any Galactic Council meeting. At first, the alien representatives joked about human emotions and weakness. By the 3rd month, the jokes had stopped. By the 6th month, worry filled the grand halls. Diane Russell floated in zero gravity aboard the observation station Sentinel-7, watching her screens with careful eyes. As intelligence officer for the United Earth Defense Force, she had spent the last 5 years watching alien movements. Now, they were watching back. "Another scout ship," she said to her commander through her comms. "That makes 8 this week. The Perdulians are getting curious." Commander John Wells drifted into the room, pushing himself along the handrails. "Let them look. They won't find anything they can understand." On her screens, Diane could see the massive energy readings from Earth and all human colonies. The great work was happening faster than anyone had expected. Old cities were coming apart piece by piece. New ships rose into orbit every day. The council races had never seen building on this scale. "The Vorks hit another border world yesterday," John said, his voice flat. "The council sent observers. They'll file a report next month." Diane's mouth tightened. "And next month another world will burn." In a mining station orbiting Saturn, Alan Porter reviewed the resource numbers with a smile. As a stockpile specialist, he had helped create the greatest gathering of rare materials in human history. For years, Earth had been mining and trading, always keeping just a little more than they reported to the Council. "Resource Station 7 reports they're at 100% capacity," said his assistant, Lisa Green. "The antimatter containment systems are ready for transport." Alan nodded. "Tell them to prepare for pickup. The carrier ships will arrive in 3 days." Lisa hesitated. "Sir, one of the Signan traders is asking questions. He wants to know why we've stopped selling neodymium." "Tell him we've had production problems," Alan said smoothly. "Offer him a discount when supplies return to normal." "But they won't return to normal," Lisa said quietly. Alan looked out the viewport at the rings of Saturn, glittering in the distant sunlight. "No, nothing will be normal again." On the Galactic Council homeworld, Councillor Zarteth of the Perdulian hierarchies slammed his 4-fingered hand onto the table. "Something is happening. The humans are planning something." High Councillor Zeth remained calm. "They are simply withdrawing from galactic affairs. It is their right." "Then why have they stopped all major exports?" demanded Zarteth. "Why are there energy readings from their worlds that our scientists cannot explain? I sent envoys to speak with their leaders 3 times. Each time they were met by automated systems and diplomatic airs." "Perhaps they are merely sulking," suggested the representative from the Morrican Combine. "Humans are known for their emotional responses." Zarteth's skin darkened with frustration. "I have studied humans for 20 cycles. They do not sulk. They plan. They build. They solve problems." He leaned forward. "And we have become their problem." In the back of the council chamber, representatives from 7 smaller worlds whispered together. These races had formed friendships and trading partnerships with humans over the years. They had seen human determination up close. "My people's ships report movement in the Sol system," whispered the Lathan delegate. "Massive ships, larger than anything we've seen before." "My cousin traded with humans for 15 years, said the Voltar representative. "Last month, his human friends gave him gifts and said goodbye. Not until next time as usual. Goodbye." On Earth, in the deep underground command center, President Bennett met with her cabinet. The screens around them showed the progress of Operation Exodus. "Phase 1 is 80% complete," reported General Grant. "The colony worlds are being evacuated according to schedule. The new defense systems are in place." "What about the gateway?" asked the President. Dr. Clark nodded confidently. "The first gateway is fully operational. The second will be ready next month. We can begin large-scale movement within 6 weeks." Secretary of State Joe Wilson looked troubled. "Some of our friends in the Council have reached out privately. They're worried about us." President Bennett's expression softened slightly. Prepare packages for our allies. Information, technology, medicine, things that will help them when we're gone. And the others? Asked General Grant. The president's eyes hardened again. They made their choice when they ignored our warnings. They'll understand soon enough. The Vork's battle fleet moved silently through the darkness of space. 5 heavy cruisers and 12 attack ships approached the human mining outpost on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Their green hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it. Their weapons were primed and ready. Captain Grawl of the Vork's lead ship smiled, showing sharp teeth. Humans were weak and the Council did nothing to protect them. This raid would bring glory and riches to his crew. Weapon systems at full power, reported his second-in-command. The humans have not detected us. Good, said Captain Grawl. Begin the attack run. No survivors this time. As the Vork ships accelerated toward Europa, something strange happened. Every warning system on every ship began to sound at once. The engines shut down. Weapon systems went offline. Life support flickered, then stabilized at minimum levels. Captain Grawl shouted orders, but nothing worked. His mighty warship drifted helplessly in space. Through the viewports, he could see the same thing happening to every ship in his fleet. On all communication channels, a simple message began to play, repeating in the Vork's language. This is your only warning. News of the disabled Vork's fleet spread quickly through the galaxy. Council scientists rushed to examine the ships. They found them completely intact but powerless. No shots had been fired. No energy weapons had been used. The most advanced Vork's technology had been turned off like a child's toy. In the council chamber, emergency meetings were called. As the representatives argued about what this meant, a human appeared for the first time in 6 months. Ambassador Frank Miller walked calmly to the speaker's platform. The room fell silent as he placed a small device on the table. It projected a document into the air for all to see. This is formal notice that Earth and all human colonies are withdrawing from all galactic treaties, effective immediately. Frank said, his voice echoing through the hall. We will no longer be bound by council rules or restrictions. Zarteth stood up angrily. You cannot simply leave. There are procedures, agreements. Frank looked at him with cold eyes. We asked for help 17 times in 30 years. 17 times you said no. The Vorks attacked 43 human settlements. Over 30,000 of our people died while you discussed procedures. What did you do to the Vork ships? Demanded the Vork's representative, his voice shaking with rage. We showed restraint. Frank answered. We could have destroyed them. Instead, we sent a message. High Counselor Zeth raised his hands for calm. Ambassador Miller, please, we can discuss new security arrangements. The Council is concerned about recent human activities. For decades, we sought your help, and you offered only words. Frank interrupted. We will no longer request what we can provide for ourselves. The hologram changed to show images of new human technology, defensive systems that could be installed on any world threatened by raiders. We will leave these designs with any peaceful world that requests them. Frank continued. They will protect innocent lives, something the Council has failed to do. The Council erupted into shouts and questions. Some representatives begged for more information. Others made threats. Frank ignored them all and walked out of the chamber for the final time. On a small Council colony world, Dr. Karen Young watched the news with her team of human scientists. They had been tracking a plague that had killed thousands of the local aliens. Just that morning, they had finally created a vaccine. Should we still give it to them? Asked her assistant, looking at the images of Frank leaving the Council. Dr. Young nodded firmly. We help those who need help. That's what makes us different from the Council. Across human space, huge ships began to appear near colonies. Not warships, but something new. Massive vessels designed to move entire cities. On Earth, President Bennett addressed the world from her underground command center. Today we declared our independence from a galactic system that failed to protect us, she said, her face solemn but determined. Operation Exodus has entered its final phase. In the coming weeks, we will leave known space. We have found a new home among the stars, beyond the reach of those who would harm us or hold us back. She paused, then continued with fire in her eyes. We will build something better, something worthy of humanity's potential. The alien scientist Creel watched through powerful telescopes as the human city of New Portland on the colony world of Ta Centauri changed before his eyes. One moment, the city stood tall with its gleaming towers and busy streets. The next moment, buildings began to fold inward like paper toys. Roads rolled up. Lights dimmed. A massive ship hovered above, unlike any vessel Creel had seen before. It didn't look like a warship. It looked like a carrier, a home. Creel sent urgent messages to the council. By the time anyone responded, the entire human city had vanished. All that remained was bare earth and a few wild animals looking confused. This scene repeated across dozens of worlds. Human colonies that had existed for decades simply disappeared overnight. Not destroyed, taken. Millions of people gone with all their buildings and technology. On the colony world of New Montana, Admiral Scott Rogers stood on a hill overlooking the last human settlement in council space. Behind him, the final transport ship waited. Before him, the city was almost empty. Only a skeleton crew remained to complete the evacuation. His comm unit buzzed. Admiral, council ships are approaching. They're requesting permission to land. Scott sighed. Let them come. Kelly can handle them. Chief Engineer Kelly Winters waited at the city's landing pad as 3 council ships touched down. Representatives from 7 major races hurried out, led by a tall Alteran diplomat. Please, said the Alteran, we must speak with your leaders. The council wishes to negotiate. Kelly gestured to the nearly empty city. You're too late. Everyone's gone. I'm just here to turn off the lights. Gone where? Demanded the Morrican representative. The council demands to know where humans are relocating. Kelly's laugh held no humor. You lost the right to demand anything when you ignored our calls for help. She handed them a small data crystal. This is a parting gift from Earth. Complete schematics for defensive technology capable of protecting vulnerable worlds from the Vorcs and other raiders. The Alteran accepted the crystal with trembling hands. Why would you help us after leaving? Because we're better than you were to us, Kelly said simply. She nodded toward her team members who were working at control panels throughout the city. One by one, they finished their tasks and headed to the waiting ship. You can stay and watch if you want, Kelly said as she walked away. It's quite a show. From the safety of their ships, the council representatives watched in awe as the human city began to deconstruct itself. Buildings separated into components. Roads broke down into raw materials. Everything was sorted, compressed, and seemingly absorbed into the ground. Within hours, nothing remained of the city that had housed 50,000 humans. No ruins, no trash, not even foundations. Just empty land returning to nature. On the flagship of the Galactic Council fleet, High Counselor Zeth stared at the report in disbelief. Every human colony, he asked. All of them. His aide nodded nervously. The last one disappeared yesterday. We estimate over 4 billion humans have relocated. That's impossible, whispered Zeth. No civilization has the technology to move entire cities, let alone billions of people. The humans apparently do, said the aide. Our scientists say they must have been developing this technology for decades, keeping it hidden from the council. Where have they gone? Demanded Zeth. Unknown. Deep space monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures moving through uncharted regions, but when we sent ships to investigate. What happened? Zeth asked. The ships found nothing. Their sensors stopped working. Their navigation systems sent them in circles. It's as if the humans have created zones of space that reject our presence. In his private quarters, Zeth watched recordings from the last human colony. He replayed the final words of the human engineer over and over. Because we're better than you were to us. Shame and fear washed over him. The Council had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers to the galactic stage. They had ignored human warnings about the Vorcs. They had denied human requests while praising their patience. Now, humanity had revealed itself to be far more advanced, far more capable than anyone had imagined. And they were gone. A message alert broke his thoughts. The Vorcs were attacking again. 3 border worlds were under siege. The Council fleet was mobilizing, but everyone knew it would arrive too late. Just like they had been too late for humanity. Panic spread through the Galactic Council like a virus. Emergency meetings continued day and night. Trade routes collapsed. Markets crashed. Security fleets scrambled from system to system. The humans aren't surrendering, said Councillor Zarteth to the gathered representatives. They aren't hiding. They're leaving. Completely. The words hung in the air. For most species in the galaxy, the idea was unthinkable. To abandon known space, to journey into uncharted darkness beyond the galactic maps. It seemed like suicide. But where could they go? Asked the Xendi representative. The unmapped regions are too dangerous for settlement. There are radiation zones, unstable star systems, quantum anomalies. Perhaps that is why they developed their new technologies in secret, suggested a Lanthan scientist. Not to fight us, but to survive out there. In the medical district of the Council homeworld, Dr. Eric Wilson packed his office. After 20 years of working with alien doctors, teaching and learning, he was one of the last humans left in Council space. His Alteran colleagues watched with sad eyes. Must you leave as well? Asked Dr. Zena, his research partner for the last decade. Our work on the neural regeneration project is so close to success. Eric looked at her with a gentle smile. It is successful, Zena. He handed her a data drive. This contains everything we've accomplished together, plus the final solution I completed last night. It will work. The treatment will save millions of your people from nerve degeneration. Zena's large eyes filled with moisture. You solved it. And you're still giving it to us, even though your council abandoned us. Eric finished. Yes, we're not abandoning friends, just a system that failed us. Deep space monitoring stations across the galaxy detected massive energy signatures moving through previously unmapped regions. The patterns suggested not random travel but purposeful migration. The humans weren't running away in fear. They were following a plan. When the Council sent their most advanced stealth ships to track these movements, they encountered something unexpected. Their sensors failed. Navigation systems malfunctioned. The ships found themselves being gently but firmly pushed back toward known space. On the Council security network, a message appeared from Security Chief Olivia Martinez, one of the few human officials who had remained behind to coordinate the final departures. We wish you peace. Do not follow. On the small agricultural world of Vesta II, human farmer Ben Parker stood in his fields. His alien neighbors, the insect-like Krekti, gathered nervously at the edge of his property. The others of your kind have gone, said Elder Krek. Will you leave us too, Ben Parker? Who will teach us to grow the earth wheat that saved our people from famine? Ben looked at the Krekti children playing nearby. During the Great Famine 5 years ago, he had shared his crops and his knowledge with the Krekti. They had become more than neighbors. They were friends. I've been given permission to stay, Ben said, smiling. Some of us are remaining behind. Those who have formed deep bonds. Those who have family or loved ones among other species. He handed Elder Krek a small device. And I have gifts for you. Seeds for 10 new earth crops adapted to your soil. Farming machines that will work for 100 years without breaking. Medical supplies that will help with the breeding sickness. Elder Krek's antennae trembled with emotion. The Council says humans left because they are angry and fearful. Ben shook his head. We left because we needed to find our own path. But we remember those who showed us kindness. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. The few humans who chose to remain behind shared gifts with those aliens who had been true friends. Medical cures, technological innovations, agricultural advances, things the Council had restricted or regulated, were now freely given. In the private chambers of the Council leadership, the true scope of what had happened began to sink in. The humans hadn't just been hiding their technological advances, they had been hiding their true potential. They were never primitive, whispered High Counselor Zeth as he reviewed the reports. They were patient. His aide looked up from a report with wide eyes. Sir, we've analyzed the defensive technology they left behind. Our scientists say it's at least a century beyond our current capabilities. What else were they hiding? Zeth wondered aloud, a chill running down his spine. The answer came from Council deep space observatories. Something massive was being built in the uncharted regions, something that stretched across multiple star systems. 3 months after humanity's departure, the careful balance of galactic politics collapsed like a house of cards. The Vorcs, no longer deterred by human military strength, launched a massive offensive against the outer rim worlds. 7 planets fell in just 2 weeks. Millions died or were taken as slaves. The Council fleet, spread thin across too many worlds, could not respond quickly enough. Smaller races who had relied on human trade and protection found themselves vulnerable and alone. On the trading hub of Nexus Station, representatives from 20 minor species gathered in secret, away from Council observers. We should have listened to the humans, said the Voltar delegate, her voice bitter. They warned us about the Vorcs for decades. The Council ignored them just as they ignore us now, added the Lanthan representative. The Vorcs will be at our worlds next. The station shook as a ship docked. Guards rushed in, weapons ready. But it was not a Vorcs raider. It was a small human vessel, the first seen in Council space for months. A single human stepped out. Professor Gregory Williams walked slowly with the help of a cane. At 72, he was among the oldest humans who had chosen to remain behind. His alien spouse, a Lanthan scholar, walked beside him. I heard you were meeting, Gregory said simply. I thought I might help. The delegates looked at him with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Your people abandoned us, said the Xendi representative. Gregory shook his head. My people abandoned a system that didn't work. There's a difference. He activated a holographic display showing the defensive systems humans had left behind. These technologies can protect your worlds. I can teach you how to build and maintain them. Why would you help us? Asked the Voltar. Because it's the right thing to do, Gregory replied, and because my husband's people are among you. He gestured to his Lanthan spouse. Across the Council space, the few remaining humans became valuable beyond measure. Corporations and governments fought to hire them as consultants. Major powers who had dismissed humans as primitive now scrambled to understand the technology they had left behind. In the Grand Council chamber, Gregory stood before the desperate representatives. For the first time in Council history, a non-representative was permitted to address the full assembly. You never asked what we could do, he told them, his voice carrying easily despite his age. You only told us what we couldn't do. He showed them designs, concepts, ideas that humans had developed but never shared due to Council restrictions. Clean energy systems that could have powered your worlds for centuries. Medical treatments that could have saved billions. Defensive technologies that would have stopped the Vorcs before they became a threat. High Counselor Zeth looked shaken. Why did humans hide these advances from us? We tried to share them, Gregory answered. Your regulations blocked us at every turn. Your laws prohibited disruptive technologies that might change the balance of power. So we smiled, nodded, and kept our best ideas to ourselves. The Council chamber erupted into chaos. Some representatives called the humans deceivers. Others demanded to know where humanity had gone. A few asked the harder question. Had the Council failed not just humans, but all species under its protection? On the border world of Talus Prime, the Vork's fleet appeared without warning. The small colony had no defenses, no weapons, no hope. As the raiders began their landing approach, the colony governor activated the system humans had installed before leaving, a gift to a world that had shown them kindness. Energy fields appeared around the planet. The Vork ships slowed, then stopped, caught like insects in amber. Their weapons would not fire. Their engines would not respond. For 3 days, they hung helpless in space until a council relief force arrived to arrest them. Not a single colonist died. Similar scenes played out across a dozen worlds where humans had left their defensive technology. The Vork's advance stalled. For the first time in generations, the raiders faced unexpected resistance. But for every world protected by human technology, 3 more fell to the Vorks. The council, divided and fearful, could not agree on a unified response. Old powers fought over resources rather than combining their strength. The galaxy that had dismissed humanity now desperately needed them. But the empty chairs at the council table remained empty. The humans were gone, building something new in the darkness between stars. And the Vorks continued to advance, step by bloody step, toward the heart of council space. 3 years passed since humanity's departure. The galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. The Vorks controlled nearly a third of what had once been council space. Millions of refugees flooded the core worlds. Food shortages led to riots. Old alliances fractured under the strain. Captain Linda Howard of the Perdurian research vessel Horizon checked the ship's damaged systems. A Vork's raider had attacked them during their scientific mission. They had escaped, but barely. The ship's engines were failing, and they were drifting into an unexplored region of space. "Can we send a distress signal?" she asked her engineer. "No, Captain. Communications are down," he replied. "And even if they weren't, no help would reach us in time." Linda looked at the star map. They were far beyond the usual trade routes, pushed into a sector that hadn't even been properly mapped. It was a death sentence. Then something appeared on their sensors, a structure. Massive and clearly artificial. It stretched across the void between 2 star systems like a shining bridge. "What is that?" whispered the science officer, adjusting the sensors. It's huge. The energy readings are off the charts." As they drifted closer, they could see more details. The structure wasn't a bridge. It was a gateway of some kind, and it was clearly of human design. "Captain," said the communications officer suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission. It's in standard council language." A voice filled the bridge. "Perdurian vessel, you are approaching United Human Territory. This area is peaceful but sovereign. State your intentions." Linda could hardly believe what she was hearing. "This is Captain Linda Howard of the research vessel Horizon. Our ship is damaged. We need help." There was a pause. Then, "Understood, Captain Howard. Stand by for docking instructions." A ship appeared beside them, sleek and unlike any human vessel Linda had seen before. It guided them toward a massive station that seemed to grow out of the gateway structure itself. Inside, they were met by Commander Heather Johnson and a team of human technicians who immediately began repairing their vessel. "We detected your battle with the Vorks," Commander Johnson explained. "Had you arrived 10 minutes later, we would have intervened." Linda looked around the station in awe. The technology was beyond anything in council space. Clean energy systems, artificial gravity that felt perfectly natural, medical facilities that healed injuries in hours instead of days. "This is just an outpost," Commander Johnson said, noticing Linda's amazement. "The main settlements are further in." News of the Perdurian ship's discovery spread quickly through council space. The council organized its largest diplomatic mission ever, led by those few aliens who had maintained positive relationships with humans. When the diplomatic fleet arrived at the coordinates provided by the Perdurians, they were met by human ships that escorted them to the outpost. There they met Director Paul Edwards, a tall man with gray hair and a serious expression. "Welcome to New Horizon Station," he said simply. "We've been expecting you." The council diplomats had 1,000 questions. Where had humans gone? How had they built such advanced structures so quickly? Why had they really left? Director Edwards led them through parts of the station, explaining, "We haven't been hiding. We've been building." He showed them holographic images of what lay beyond the gateway, dozens of star systems connected by transit networks, new colonies thriving on terraformed worlds, massive structures harnessing the energy of stars. In 3 years, asked Zarteth in disbelief. This would take centuries with Council technology. We had the technology for decades, Edwards explained, but the Council's restrictions on disruptive technologies meant we could never implement them. Out here, we're free to build the future we envision. One of the Lanthan diplomats studied an image of a defense network. "These could stop the Vorcs," she said quietly. Edwards nodded. "They already do. Our space is protected. The Vorcs tested our boundaries once. They won't try again." "Will you help us?" asked Zarteth directly. "The Council is failing. The Vorcs grow stronger each day." Edward's expression remained neutral. "That's not for me to decide. But I've arranged for you to speak with our leadership about possible arrangements." As the diplomats followed Edwards deeper into the station, they passed laboratories, factories, and schools filled with humans working together with purpose and hope. "How many of you are there?" asked a Voltar diplomat. "Billions now," Edwards replied, "and growing. Turns out when you remove artificial limitations, humanity thrives." The message was clear. Humans hadn't run away. They had moved toward something better. And now, as the galaxy fell into chaos, they were in a position of unprecedented strength. 10 years after humanity's departure, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The Vork's empire now controlled nearly half of what had once been Council space. The Council itself existed in name only, its grand chambers empty as member worlds focused on their own survival. On the farming world of Elara 7, refugees huddled in makeshift shelters. The Vork's fleet had been spotted in a nearby system. Everyone knew they would be next. Governor Carol Reed looked at the frightened faces of her people. She had no defenses to offer them. No hope. The Council had abandoned them weeks ago, pulling back to protect the core worlds. "Governor," a young aide rushed into the command center. "Something's happening in orbit. Ships are appearing." On the monitors, massive vessels emerged from what looked like tears in space itself. Not the jagged warships of the Vorks, but sleek vessels of unfamiliar design. A transmission reached every communication device on the planet. "This is Captain Natalie Cooper of the Earth ship Pathfinder. We've been watching. We're ready to help, but on new terms." Within hours, similar ships appeared near 30 worlds under threat from the Vorks. They offered evacuation for civilians and military support for those who wanted to fight. Not as saviors, but as allies. On the former Council homeworld, emergency meetings were called. The remaining Council leaders gathered in a room that had once held representatives from 200 worlds. Now fewer than 50 attended. A human delegation arrived, led not by a diplomat but by Sam Bradley, a man with the simple title of Earth Representative. He did not bow to the Council leaders. He did not ask for permission to speak. Instead, his team set up a new table in the center of the chamber. Not the crescent-shaped Council table where petitioners stood before judges, but a circular table with equal positions for all. "Humanity did not abandon the galaxy," Sam began. "We abandoned a system that failed not just us, but everyone except those in power. Now that system has collapsed, and we're ready to build something better. Together." High Councilor Zeth, looking much older than 10 years should account for, responded with bitterness. "Now you return, when we are at our weakest, to take control." Sam shook his head. "We don't want control. We want partnership." He activated a holographic display showing the Vork's fleet positions across the galaxy. Then he showed human forces already engaging them at key points. "We've developed technologies, medicines, and defenses that can help everyone. We're offering them freely to any world that joins our alliance, not as subjects, but as equals." The Lathan representative spoke up. "Why would you help us after how we treated you?" "Because that's who we are," Sam replied simply. "Humans don't thrive in isolation. We build communities. We form connections. We solve problems together. We're offering you a chance to do the same." Over the next month, representatives from hundreds of worlds came to see the new table. Many joined the alliance immediately. Others waited to see results. A few rejected the offer outright. But everywhere the Vorks attacked, they found human ships waiting. The tide began to turn. In the formal chambers where the new alliance took shape, Sam Bradley met with leaders from 80 species. Some had been council powers. Others had been ignored for centuries. "We didn't abandon diplomacy," he explained as they signed the new charter. "We just needed to build our own table first." The document they created enshrined principles the council had only paid lip service to: mutual defense, technological sharing, cultural exchange, and equal voice regardless of a species' age or power. On Earth, President Julian Nelson stood before the United Human Parliament. 10 years after leading the Exodus, she was in her final term of office. "When we left council space, many believed we were running away," she said to the assembled representatives. "Others thought we sought isolation or revenge. The truth was simpler. We needed to find our own path before we could help others find theirs." The Parliament chamber erupted in applause. On the walls hung symbols from 100 alien worlds. New friends, new allies, new partners in the greatest diplomatic achievement in galactic history. Across human space, the gateways that had once been used to escape now served as connections to a wider community. Alien students studied at human universities. Human doctors worked in alien hospitals. Together, they faced challenges neither could have overcome alone. The galaxy that had once watched in dread as humanity abandoned the council's table now gathered eagerly around a new one, where everyone had a seat, everyone had a voice, and no one stood alone.